Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the game Apex Legends. The reason I started playing this game is because my friend Blue Spider really is into the game, and I figured I'd play it with him and have any fun that could possibly be had while playing this game. So in today's video, I'll be talking about what I think about the game and my opinions on it and everything. Pretty much it's just a normal video with gameplay in the background, but this time we actually win the game, so that's good. Let's get on with the review. So to start up with the sound design slash music, everything seems and sounds okay. But what I can say though is a lot of guns sound very similar and they can kind of blend together into one mesh of a sound, which doesn't very sound unique. There are a few exceptions to this of course, but in general, most of the guns sound very similar and kind of boring honestly, at least to me. They don't sound intriguing and have a unique sound like COD 4's Deagle, but a lot of these guns in the game just sound very generic to me. The music though for this game is actually pretty good. It's unique, it sounds different. I've never heard any other game have music like this before besides like something similar to this, based on this, that being Titanfall. But even so, it wasn't very similar to this. Apex has a unique style which is good, and the music itself sounds good, but I don't feel like it achieves the levels of like god tier video game music in general. The kind of stuff where Mario, Minecraft, stuff like that, where that kind of music would go. It just doesn't achieve that. If it were scaled on that, like Mario being the best and stuff, this music would probably score a 6 or a 7. Not for overall, but this is just a mini rating. But in general, the music's fine. It's not horrible. It's good. It's on the better side of things, but it's not anything special. You're not missing out on any great tracks if you're not playing this game. So if you don't know how Apex works, they have this system, like besides Battle Royale, there's this system where you can choose legends, which are people that have abilities that you can use pretty much. So each legend has a different function in the sandbox, which adds another layer to the game. If you've ever played Rainbow Six Siege, it's like adding operators into a Battle Royale game. It's actually a pretty good idea. It works really well and it's well implemented. The issue arises when half of the legends are irrelevant or you almost never see them on the battlefield. And this is just due to the game design. This is because some legends are stupidly overpowered, and then other legends are stupidly fun, and then other legends serve no purpose at all. In this clip you'll see me playing as Octane, and this is because Octane is actually fun to use because he runs fast and he has a jump pad, and he's practical since he's fast and he regens automatically. So Octane's basically just a COD character on steroids with his jump pad. So Octane's pretty fun. Who else is fun? You know the game is kind of boring when I have to think about someone that's actually fun to play. Wraith is fun to play, but she's not practical, so she's irrelevant. Who else? Bloodhound's fun to play, and he's irrelevant, but he's not as good as Octane, so he's overshadowed. It's not really power creep, but this happens a lot in Apex where some legends are just stupidly better than others. And this is Apex's main issue that it faces that I currently see. That and content. Balancing and content is what Apex has seemed to fail on. Like, I guess Lifeline could be useful, but not really, because her only good thing is the fact that she has a drone that can revive teammates and that's it, and heal people. But you could just revive them manually, or you could just use stims to heal. So like I said, a lot of them are irrelevant and useless. There's not really a point to them. Some are just flat out boring and just sound boring. Like Fuse looks boring, Loba looks boring, that Horizon looks boring. You'll notice a common theme here, and that is just boring. Like, if you make a video game, you have to make it entertaining in at least one way or another. It's just Apex doesn't seem to have this down at all. So If I were to rate the Legend segment, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10 because they could have really done better here, but they just seem reluctant to actually change things. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention for the last subject for the last segment, I give it a solid 7 out of 10 for the music slash sound design.
Now, honestly, this part is very important for the game, or pretty much any game. It has to have a good map in order for it to be fun and replayable. And Apex manages to nail that with one of their maps, and that is Kings Canyon. Kings Canyon is the only map that I've actually had fun on that's currently in the game. I know there was a map before with the train, and it was like desert themed or whatever, and the train would go around the whole map. And that was one of the best maps that I've played on Apex, if not the best. But Kings Canyon is pretty much the only map I can play on. I hate Olympus, it's just so boring. It feels like there's random holes in the earth somewhere. Half of the map just feels kind of useless. It doesn't have interesting and fun conflicts, such as Kings Canyon and any of the other maps I've played on this game. Olympus is pretty much just a flat out mess for me. Like, I hate that map so much. It's the map I despise. If I get that map on this game and I'm playing with my single friend who only wants to play the game for fun and I only want to play it because he plays it, then yeah, no, I'm hopping on Warzone. I'm not playing Apex anymore. That map is so garbage. It's just so boring. You land and then you instantly either die or get garbage loot and survive for another 10 minutes and then you die again. It's so boring and all of the conflicts feel very walled off and contained. They don't feel natural. There's that map. Kings Canyon is okay. Well, it's actually on the better side because it goes well with Apex's fluidity of the game. So I'll give him that. Kings Canyon is a well-done map. If I were to rate this section, I'd probably rate this a 3 out of 10 because the only thing that's giving it points right now is Kings Canyon, as they took the other actually good map out of the game. And it's kind of just bland right now. Like, Kings Canyon is fun and all, but that gets old over like 5 games, unless you're landing bunker. But I just really don't find that much enjoyment in this game if I'm not playing Kings Canyon. So the Apex lore is actually done really well. It takes place exactly where you would expect it to. All the characters have unique lore that intersect with each other, which is really cool. That's a good idea and done well. And honestly, this is probably one of Apex's strongest points for me when I was playing it. Just to hear about all the lore that each player has is pretty insane that EA went to that level of detail and dedication. You don't expect that from an EA game. Everything seems really solid, and even with the characters, I really like the little quips each of them have when they kill someone or are healing or are just speaking about their current situation. It really adds another layer of immersion to the game that just makes you enjoy the experience that you're having even more, which is really good because it adds to the overall game experience. For instance, when I'm killing someone and Octane is making these little quips about it, I like that because it adds an element to the game that I can also laugh at while being serious and trying to compete. Nothing feels really out of place in the atmosphere. Everything feels like it belongs where it is, which is good because nothing feels outlandish or odd or strange. Like, all of these things could be believable in this universe, and suspense of disbelief is possible because everything is contained inside of that universe. There's no insane garbage that you would think that's not in this universe that would be here. Everything stays inside of the realm of futuristic, and I like that, and that works. It has good synergy. This is what Call of Duty games that tried to be futuristic should have. This is what Advanced Warfare should have been, and it's been translated to Battle Royale, and it works so incredibly well at times. But if EA and Respawn is not willing to put in the effort to balance weapons and make them fun and engaging for their player base, then why would I even play this game? That's the main gripe I have about this game, is that it doesn't actually spend its time to balance the weapons and how they work inside the sandbox. So half of the weapons feel very underpowered and underused and garbage, quite frankly. it seems that EA and Respawn is very reluctant to change these, although some changes have been made that are in the benefit of the community. More changes need to be and should be made in order to improve this game's health. This game is, for me at least, was not very enjoyable half the time because half the weapons I used were pretty garbage and had no use in the sandbox. When the sandbox is not immersive, I'm not immersed, and when I'm not immersed, I'm usually not having a good time. So unless there's some way that this game can hook me and captivate me, besides the factor that my friend likes it, I'm not going to stick around on this game for long. This is why Apex has the issues that it does, because it's not going to take the time to fix what's wrong with it. Instead, it wants to add new content first and then fix it later. But the issue is that later gets extended, and then it's extended again, and then extended even more. So it doesn't seem like a very fun play experience when you're playing the game and half the stuff is broken, pretty much is what I'm saying. So if I were to rate the setting part of this game, I did go off on a little tangent, a little tirade for a second to talk about the sandbox experience, but if I were to rate the overall setting of the game, I would give it a solid 10 out of 10, as I felt immersed pretty much the whole time while playing this, except for when I was using weapons. That's more of the weapon and sandbox experience rather than the game's setting. So I won't dock points off of that. So in conclusion, Apex Legends is a pretty fun game at times, but it can also be pretty boring and bland at other times. Its biggest weakness is the fact that it struggles to balance a reliable and fun meta in the sandbox where most of the weapons, or if not all the weapons, are utilized. If Apex could get this down, they would really have a solid 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 gaming experience for their video game, but as of now, they're not really nailing that, so. But in general, Apex Legends is pretty fun. I recommend it to anyone who likes futuristic stuff and science fiction that has to do with first-person shooter games. This game was really fun. I had enjoyment with it at times, but also at other times I just felt complete boredom due to the lack of maps, content, and gunplay. Legends can feel a bit crowded at times, but other times they feel right in place in the meta and the sandbox and fit perfectly. The writing is well done and it feels like it fits inside of the Apex Legends world, which is good. The quips and everything add more layers to the character and more depth, which make them more interesting than they are on the surface. Something that could use some work though is the gunplay. The gunplay in Apex is very underutilized. Half the guns are not used to their fullest potential and the other half are OP. I can't help but feel a little annoyed while playing this game when using the guns, since I can't use all the guns I would like to, which is very important in a game that revolves around guns. When that's essential to your game, you have to make sure that that works in order for the whole game to work, or else the whole game cannot work if your own gunplay does not. It's so unfortunate to see, because like Siege, if it made a few key essential changes, it could really spice up the gameplay and make it more interesting. But unfortunately, the devs don't see that, so they're not taking it in the right direction needed in order for it to catch popularity and grow. Apex Legends as a game has a lot of potential that brings the Titanfall name some honor. Believe me when I say I would like to see this game do well. I really would. And although the futuristic setting doesn't entirely fit my likings in games, I'd play it any day if the UI was given an overhaul. Legends were buffed and nerfed in an appropriate way. The gunplay was more enjoyable and balanced, and other minor changes such as the cursor garbage. I feel like those could really make the game actually on Warzone's level or even better, because as of now it's falling behind Warzone. And while I have bashed Apex during this review, I will give it credit that it's unique in what it does. It takes the ideas of Siege and other games where you have several characters with different abilities to spice up the meta, but it also takes a Battle Royale take on it. And for me, it's like playing a nice cross between Siege and Warzone that's enjoyable at times, and like I mentioned earlier, not at others. Apex could really shine if it just tried to. But anyways, enough of the bad, let me talk about the good. So a lot of the graphics look good, and I'm not saying like the the textures, the polygon count, but the actual look of the game fits and suits it well. Like, everything feels in place as I mentioned earlier, and everything feels natural when you see it. Like, you notice how I'm running on this giant pipe right now? This doesn't feel unnatural in the context of Apex because it fits the world that it's made for. And I've never felt like I haven't been immersed by the structures in this game. Another thing Apex does well is being able to unite players to use their abilities for the greater benefit of each other. The synergy with players is really well done and works fine. Although I have found that in trios, if you have one teammate who's dysfunctional, you've practically lost the whole game, as you need 3 teammates in order to win. I will mention this though, something weird that I found in Apex is that it doesn't have any squads, which is kind of questionable, since it has solos, duos, and trios, but squads just isn't there, which is weird. I know Apex was the first game to innovate and make trios, but it's just strange that you don't see squads in here when every other battle royale does. So that's a little odd. Something else that's weird is that at times weapons are very reliable and good, and at other times they're not reliable at all. The actual reliability and damage of each weapon seems to be crazy and weird. Like, for instance, some of the snipers in the game aren't even one-hit shots for chest up, which is stupid. Like in Warzone it is, but that actually makes sense. It's a one-hit down because you're using a rifle that has the power to knock someone down, so it makes sense. But in Apex, apparently this futuristic gun doesn't, which is absurd, but whatever. I've also noticed that other guns like the Mozambique are typically odd. For instance, you would never want this gun because of how unreliable it is and how strange and odd it is. I've seen this done properly in Siege because it's a revolver shotgun, and it's done properly in Siege with Maestro and Alibi, but here in Apex it's just not done well and it feels weird, it feels odd. So they could really work on that to try to make it more reliable and less janky and weird. Anyways, those are my thoughts and opinions on the game. If I were to give it an overall rating, I would give it a solid 6 out of 10, as the game really has some stuff to improve on. Although it's not a horrible title, it has potential, but as of now, it's not looking too good for me. In my opinions, I don't really like this game that much, but I would play it for friends, as I mentioned earlier. You might want to give it a try if you have the opportunity to. You might like it. It's more of a futuristic kind of setting. But Battle Royale, it's pretty much everything I listed before. But this gameplay footage goes for another 3 minutes, so I'll turn up the audio for that and let that play. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Over there. Wait, stop moving. No. Do you really see them? Oh, you do. One down. The other one's low. Don't let him rest, don't let him rest. Killed one. Heal up, heal up, heal up, heal up. No, play safe, play safe, play safe. Let me heal up. I killed his teammate, so there's no way he can revive him. And we're in the final circle. Oh, I see him, I see him. Hold on. He's over here. Right over here. I hit him once. His shield's gone. Let's go, Jays! Yes! Ah, let's go. You were concentrating really hard, weren't you?
No, I was trying to find where he is because like you pinged the rock and I knew he was there, but I was confused on where.
Oh, he's calling me now.
Okay.
Ayo. Did you do it? Okay.
I missed like a solid half of my shots too.
Add me. Add me. We just won our game, Mason. We're cracked.
Yeah, now we're gonna lose
Cracked.
next game.
What?